Hey everyone, Georgetown Soaps here and BeScented, and I am mixing up a batch of bath bombs. I get a lot of requests for how do you make them, how do you get them so hard, I have to wait 3-4 days for them to be ready for me to package, what's your secret? Honestly, I've been making bath bombs for 8 years. I officially say that because I started 8 years ago making bath bombs and I quit. I had bought books of recipes, I had bought recipes, I had joined bath bomb groups, I had done so much experimenting. I would literally like sit there and sweat my little tush off because I'd be trying to make them get hard. I would try and get them in the molds, I would try and get them to come out of the molds in one piece. They would get warts, they would fall apart, they would crumble, they wouldn't foam, they wouldn't fizz, they wouldn't spin, they wouldn't do anything fun. So I've done a lot of experimenting and I feel like I've kind of got a recipe down that I really like, that really works for me, and I've been asked to share that with the BeScented group. So BeScented is going to be offering a bath bomb class. Details for that will be on the BeScented page. We're going to start with basics and then we'll get into a little bit more tricky, hopefully get into a little bit more advanced bath bomb techniques, but we're going to start off with the basics. The basics will include just my go-to recipe that has not failed me in years. I've probably consistently been using it for 2 years and I haven't had a failed batch yet. I live in the Washington, D.C. area and everyone says it's not the heat, it's the humidity. We are super, super humid, and we've had, like, I think this is the year, like, top 5 record rainfall in the last 100 years since they've been tracking rainfall. And I made bath bombs when it was pouring rain and when it was basically raining for a week, and a day later, 24 hours after I made them, they were hard as a rock and I packaged them. So anyway, you can see I'm mixing all of my dry ingredients. I've added my liquids and I'm just gonna mix it with hands. I know some people can't mix with their hands because they've got arthritis or they've got wrist issues. Some people use a mixer. Honestly, my batches, unless I want to go up and get a huge commercial mixer, my batches, I usually make about a batch that makes 30 to 35 of the same fragrance at a time, because I sell that many of them and I go through them that quickly. It doesn't make sense for me to make 10 lavender bath bombs then make another batch of 10 honeysuckle bath bombs. So for me, I personally like to do it in the bowl. You can feel the texture with your hands. Once you get more advanced, you can definitely use a mixer, but I think it's important when you're first starting out to be able to make them with your hands. Mix it with your hands, get a feel for the texture, and then once you kind of get your recipe foolproof, you'll know what you're doing, and then you will not need to, and then you could upgrade to the mixer if you wanted. But you can see the bath bomb, it releases from the molds very, very quickly, very easily. I didn't have to tap. I see some videos, people are like beating the heck out of their mold because they're just tap, tap, tap. I mean, you see people tapping for 10-15 seconds. 10-15 seconds isn't that long, but when you're making, 300 bath bombs in a day, that adds up. They release super, super easy. You can see they're very, very smooth, so no issues. And I typically do not have to, I see some people respraying. Sorry, I'm adjusting the camera. I was making these late at night and sometimes I'm not always cognizant of what the camera's showing. But they release super easy. And I do like to pack. Some people say don't overpack them, that's the problem, that's why you can't make a good bath bomb. I pack. I squeeze them in, I squeeze them in tight. And you can see, I've gotten my first 3 right away. I typically do not need to, I see a lot of people, they'll respray their bath bomb mixture halfway through because it dries out. I guess I can go fast enough and that my recipe is where I need it to be in order to not have to continually respray. But you see, I don't get the Saturn ring with these. I do like the Saturn ring look sometimes, but then, then it can get crumbly. The Saturn ring can, and by Saturn ring, I mean in the middle. Sometimes some of the molds have literally like maybe a centimeter ring around the middle. These are fine. My customers don't care. They don't need a ring. They don't even notice if they're a little bit off. People don't care. You don't need to make your bath bombs perfect. I feel like sometimes the design is more important in soap. But bath bombs, honestly, as long as you can throw the, people get it. Bath bomb is going to dissolve in the water. They don't care. At least my customers don't care. So I'm going to go ahead, keep mixing them up. You can just kind of see that my recipe, I can go, I think this was a 30, this might have been 20, this might have been, I made a little bit smaller batch just for the video. But this might be about 20 or so bath bombs. And this mold, this is the 60 millimeter bath bomb mold from BeScented. My bombs weigh about 4.5 ounces once they're dried. Or I guess once I make them, because they don't really lose much weight when they dry. So you get a good 4.5 ounce bath bomb out of it. And again, you can see the quick release on these. It doesn't stick to the sides. When I first started, that was one of my biggest issues. The bath bomb mixture would stick to the side, half would come out, half wouldn't. It was too wet, it was too dry. But you can see consistency is key with bath bombs, and this recipe is pretty top notch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a link in the comments for the bath bomb class. I think for the first 50 people who join the class, it's going to be $19, and after that it's going to be $30. So it's kind of go at your own pace. A lot of the videos will be pre-recorded, and that means you can start whenever you want. You can pay for the class and watch the first video in 2 weeks. I think it's officially going to kick off on August 25th. So you can prepay, get your spot ready. The ingredients list will be posted on BeScented, and then the recipe will be posted in the group as well. The benefit for the group, it's going to be really small and intimate. You're not going to get any snarky comments. You're going to get a lot of people who are at the same exact level that you are. They've never made a bath bomb, or they've never made a good bath bomb. So there will be lots of question and answers, lots of troubleshooting, lots of best demonstrated techniques. So anyway, I'm going to keep making this batch, and I look forward to you joining us in the group. I'm going to put a free recipe on the bottom of this. This is not the recipe that I use consistently. It's an older recipe that works great. It's a good recipe. It's not foolproof. It takes a little bit more experimenting with, and sometimes this recipe, you just need to watch your liquid levels. It can be a little bit more finicky. It's a great recipe once you know how to use it, but I do recommend, if you're looking for something foolproof so you don't have to waste your ingredients, waste your supplies, go ahead and hop over, grab the class for 19 bucks. I probably wasted $300 in supplies on my first bath bombs, and experimenting, and I bought recipes, I bought books, I joined groups. This should be pretty foolproof for you. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.